Working. Good. All right, I just turned the mic on, so it should be working. But Jack is doing awesome. This is our morning kind of routine. Normally we walk down the driveway, but I wanted you to kind of be able to see what his healing picture is looking like right now. So I know we talked a lot last night about kind of competitive obedience stuff and competitive like sport competition stuff. And I know you're not looking to like compete at nationals or worlds or anything like that, and that's totally fine. As long as you're having fun, that's what's important. What I wanted to talk about is kind of the differences, why we refer to it as competitive obedience. Competitive obedience is just kind of a different quality of obedience. It is a very high intensity, high enthusiasm, very sharp, very kind of precise obedience. The issue with it is that it's not something you can use necessarily long term. What that means is I'm not going to be able to go for a 3-mile walk with my dog in an attention heel. So what we've been working on here with him has been pet obedience. Pet obedience is that like long-term behavior. I can put my dog on a place bed and keep him there for half an hour and let him relax. I can go for a walk around the block and expect him to walk next to me. That is essentially what we've been doing for the past few weeks with him, teaching him calm, manageable behaviors. German Shepherds notoriously are high drive, energetic, powerful dogs. I don't think you're going to have that problem with him. He's very kind of chill, very relaxed. He's very low drive for a German Shepherd, which is good, especially for like a house dog, for a family dog. But it is nice to be able to have the option of competitive obedience when it's asked for. So I can, when I want to ask my dog into a nice, sharp, focused heel, my dog can do that. If I want my dog just have a nice, relaxed walk around the block, we can do that too. When we get into doing like sport stuff and like bite work, he's going to end up loving bite work, right? The biting stuff is going to be hopefully his favorite thing in the whole world. So when we have a dog who loves doing something so intensely, and then we want to ask them to do obedience around that, we're going to need just as intense of obedience in order to keep control over the dog in the presence of the thing that he really wants. So that's just the purpose of what we would call competitive obedience. It's just a very intense, energetic, enthusiastic behavior. Good Bowie. And you can get that mostly with using toys. And he does have toy drive. We started using toy the other day when we were doing dog neutrality because he was more excited about the toy. Yeah, good job. He was more excited about the toy than he was about the food, right? Now, like I said, the rabbit never jumps into the dog's mouth. The rabbit's always running away. So if you notice, when I brought out the toy, I didn't just hand it to him, right? I made him chase it a little bit. Dogs have prey drive, and part of their prey drive, the prey drive is broken into 5 parts. It's the chase, the capture, the kill, I think it's like destroy and consume, or like dismember, consume, something like that. That's why dogs love chasing stuff. That's why they love to capture it like this and maintain possession of it. If I let him keep it long enough, he's going to start to tear it to pieces. That's why a lot of dogs like to tear up their toys and pull out the stuffing. And that's why a lot of dogs tend to like eat their toys and actually consume it. Okay? Now, if I want him to let go, I'm going to take some food. I'm going to put it right in front of his nose. When he lets go, I click and he gets food. That's the beginning of how we're going to teach him out, or a drop it command. I like to just use out. There's a lot of people who like to have kind of an informal out and a formal out, but quite honestly, out is out. If it's in your mouth, take it out of your mouth. I don't care if it's a bite suit, a bite toy, if it's, a ball, if it's, a piece of tissue, if it's a rock you picked up off the ground. If it's in your mouth, I want it out. I'm going to tell you out. And I think that it's just as important on like the training field, competition field, as it is going for a walk around the block. Because God forbid he picks up something dangerous and I tell him out, I want him to spit it out immediately. Okay? But this is how we started. So we're going to go back into a little bit of healing. If you notice, I'm still not really giving him a whole lot of commands. especially for like what we consider like pet obedience. I really just want my dog to be able to exist as part of my routine very easily, right? I don't want to have to sit here and micromanage what he's doing all the time and constantly be like, heel, Cinnamon, sit, Cinnamon, down, Cinnamon. So I like to just tell my dog, hey, if you're on the leash and I'm walking somewhere, this is where you're supposed to be. The leash for him should be the cue that this is where I want you to be, walking next to me, paying attention, puppy, puppy, there we go, good bowies, right? I want him to know without having to tell him that when I stop, he's supposed to go into that sit, free. I do like to really emphasize using that release command, that free, because one thing I don't want him to do is get in the habit of breaking on his own, meaning getting up out of that position all on his own. So I go free, and then I start walking with my left foot if I want him to come with me. If I want him to stay where he is, right, I'm going to tell him sit. I know, there's a kibble on the ground. Boop, it's gone now. All right. I tell him sit, and I'm going to step away with my right foot. He knows that that is where I want him to sit, right? Now, ideally, and this is what I do with my dogs, I don't have to tell him sit. But if I walk away with my right foot, that should be the cue that I don't want him to move. Again, I just want my dog to be part of my routine. I don't want to have to stop my conversation to be like, hold on, let me give my dog a command so he does the thing I want him to do. If I want my dog to stay here, I just want to be able to kind of go about my day doing what I got to do. If I want my dog to come with me, I can say free, and he can come with me, right? So that way, it's going to look very impressive for your friends, for your family. You know, when your dog is just like reading your mind, like, how did your dog know how to do that? It's going to look so cool, but really it's very simple, right? Our dogs pick up on our visual cues so much more than our verbal cues, but it's so much easier for us to understand telling him to sit, right? So he's here, and I step away with my right foot. I'm going to turn and face him a little bit, all right? And then I'm going to come back to him. He knows to stay there. It doesn't take a whole lot of verbal communication for that one. Free, right? And I think that's something that's going to be super helpful on the pet side of things. We will talk about how we do competitive obedience, because I think if you want to do the bite work stuff, I think you're going to find it really enjoyable. When you have that competitive obedience, that focused heel, that dog who is unwavering in their dedication to being at your side, no matter what else is going around you, you're going to feel a much deeper relationship, I think, with him. He's going to be such a closer best friend, a partner. Like, you guys are going to be on the same wavelength, and you're going to appreciate it, I promise. Don't think about it as in, like, I'm doing this so I can get the best score on the trial field. I'm doing it because I want to have the most fun with my dog. Whee! Now, we are already kind of reinforcing some of the competitive obedience behaviors. If you notice, I really try to wait until he's looking at me, and I really kind of emphasize him being in that right position. Puppy, hi, what you got? So I really want him here, which is a beautiful heel position. I want him looking straight up my pant seam, right? And so even in pet obedience, I can still reward these behaviors. So if I scooch over, good, right? I want him to know that heel just means to be next to my leg. Puppy, and these skills of the whole left foot means we go, right foot means you stay, I use them on the trial field. Absolutely, right? Any little thing that's going to help my dog understand what I'm asking of them is totally great. Free, puppy. Heel. Heel. Good. So what we want to do is, if we want to do competitive obedience, which I highly recommend, spend some time practicing that as well. You got a lot of things you can do with him, and I think this is going to be something you're going to really appreciate. Is we just start in that stationary position. I know I dropped a treat. Puppy. Good. Just start stationary in the heel position. Make sure you're very specific about where you want him to be. And if he looks up at you, just mark and reward. Puppy. Good. I like to really emphasize there are 4 parts to heeling for competitive heeling. It's how far forward and backwards he is, where his back end is. So if he's sitting crooked like this, where he's facing that way and I'm facing this way, we want to make sure he understands where his back end's supposed to be. So I help him face the same direction as me. And then the next two parts, the third part is what I call head position. So head position is where he's looking up at me with his head in a specific place. So believe it or not, when dogs are doing that nice focused heel and they're just staring at their owners the whole time, it's not because they love them. I mean, yes, they love them, but that's not why their head's there. Their head's there because it's an obedience behavior, right? So I want my dog to look up at me. Now, when he looks up, if you notice right now, he's looking at my hand, right? He's looking at this, which is fine. I'm just creating muscle memory. If you want to learn a lot about muscle memory in humans and in dogs, read the Talent Code. But I want him ideally understanding that it's not just about look at my hand, wherever my hand goes, because that's what he's doing right now. It's about looking at me and then rewarding him for doing that, okay? So if he's up here, puppy, right? He's looking at my hand, puppy. When he looks at me instead of at my hand, I'm going to click and reward. Super simple exercise, all right? What this is going to do, it's going to slowly transform, puppy, into be able to bringing your hand down to your side, kind of on the outside of his face. And that's going to be his cue to look at you. So if you watched with Medic last night, when I brought my hand to the inside, he looked away, looked at whatever I was pointing at. When my hand went to the outside, he looked up at me. So again, just little cues are going to help him do the things we expect him to do. The fourth part of competitive heeling is what we call point of contact. So this is basically a physical, tactile thing that our dogs can feel when they're in that heel position. Some people do their shoulder touching the leg. I actually like to have my dog's cheek touching my thigh. Medic, I did not teach a contact heel, so if you'll notice, his heel is a little bit sloppy. Daria has a much tighter heel position when she does heel. And it serves to have a really nice anchor point for our dog. It gives them a really simple target, right? When we talk about heel, I always talk about teaching the dog that heel just means be next to my foot, right? A really simple concept makes it very easy for my dog to understand what I'm asking of him. So for that attention heel, the goal is to just have your head on my thigh or have your shoulder on my knee, whatever it is. Stop trying to eat sod off the ground. I know. If he has something you don't want him to have, we're just going to slightly choke up. If you're pulling up on that leash, he really just can't swallow, so that way he doesn't actually ingest whatever it is. You kind of just sweep your fingers through and try to get it out. All right, I lost my train of thought, but that was a good session. I'm going to put him up and let him relax, and we'll do this again in a little bit. Free! I know, there's a leaf. Come on, pup. Pup, 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 pup. Here you go. Drink water. I know. Kennel. Good bowies. Kennel.